What's good, everybody? I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody's making their dreams come true. All that, all that, all that. All right, so I was make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff to make the channel grow. If you are so inclined, you want to help support me as I am doing my thing here and on vacation and traveling the world. If you want to buy me some lunch while I'm here, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm out here. I'm about to be leaving Colombia, so by the time you all see this, I will have left Colombia. Unfortunately, I got to go back to the States for a little bit. It's my plan to. I got to go back to the States. There's some court stuff that I got to do because that's what I do. As part of the second job, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I have to go back to the States, deal with some court stuff, and then I will be back on my traveling journey, exploring the world and looking for a new place to live. But I'm going to get into all that in a second here. So I was asked to do a couple of videos about grown stuff, grown folks business, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if I ever started a separate um, playlist for that, but I may start one. But anyway, somebody asked me about that before, starting a playlist just for the grown folks, and so I'll get into it. We'll get into that in a little bit. So this one is obviously called Tips for Retirement. Tips for Retirement. Now, um, I've been retired now for going 6 years. Wow. So I retired from law enforcement 2019, right before everything kind of blew up with George Floyd and all that stuff. So I left right at a good time, as far as missing all those riots and all that kind of stuff. Guys being ordered to stay and all this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to make sure this camera is right where I want it to be. I think that's a little better. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and this will be in no particular order, although I'm going to try to keep them in descending order, but what I think is the most important. And the first thing I would say is, you got to start planning today. First thing is to plan for today. Plan for your future. Plan for your escape. I've done other videos about that before. Plan for your escape today. Do that today. Start now. So whatever you got to do, you got to, you're gonna have to start planning for that. Imagine what you want your life to be in retirement and all that. So, I did 24 years in policing, and we retire at, we retire after, when I first came on, you retired at 20 years. Then they changed it midstream to 25 years. And I think now you got to be 25 years, and I think you have to collect your pension after 55. So I missed all that. So I am 52, and I retired 6 years ago. I retired when I was 45 or 40. I was about to turn 46. I was 45. But again, I started policing when I was 22. Yeah. No, it couldn't have been 45. 47? I don't know. Whatever I was. I'm 52 now. So yeah, I was like 46. I retired 2019. Yeah. Okay, so start planning today. That's number one. Start planning today. Whatever you want your life to be like, whatever you're. And one of the good pieces of advice that I got was from this captain who unfortunately just passed within the last 6 months. And he said, whatever life you're living right now, you gotta think about how you want to live, but on the lesser scale later on. And I know a lot of guys were doing a lot of extra duty work, a lot of overtime, trying to stash some money away because they want to be good in their retirement. But here's what I would say to that: you got to take care of your health first, and this would be number two. This is again, it's no particular order, but plan, and number two, take care of your health. I wrote that down later, but we'll address it now. Today, you got to start planning for the future. And that part of that plan has got to be taking care of your health. There's no sense, and police officers do this all the time. There was a good friend of mine who retired and was gone. He didn't even. I think he made like, it's 365 days a year. I think he made it like 363 or 364. Didn't even make it a year after retirement and ended up passing away. He was a good friend of mine. We had some great conversations in the PD. So you got to take care of yourself, eat right, exercise. You got to start that today. There ain't no sense in getting out here retiring. And police officers, corrections officers are usually dead within 5 years. So I've already beat it. I've already beat it. So you got to plan for that today. I think firemen are also in that as well. So you got to plan for yourself. All right. So another thing you got to do as far as taking care of yourself is protect your peace at all costs. Whatever drama you got going on, you got to settle that today, because you obviously don't want to take it into retirement. But that stuff is a stressor on your life and will continue to drain you later on. So you got to protect your peace. If you got baby mama drama, if you got baby daddy drama, if you got divorce issues, you got child issues, got to go to therapy. Whatever mental stresses, you need to take it off of you. You got to take that off of you. You gotta take that off of you. Yeah, yeah. So you got to take it off of you. Anybody who doesn't know, I had a triple bypass at 46, 45, 45. I was 45 years old when I had a triple bypass. And, I attributed a lot of that to the job and maybe just some other things. I don't know. I don't know where it came from or why it came, but I had three blockages in my heart, and they had to go in their emergency surgery and all that stuff. So you got to take care of yourself. So I'm telling you, from a guy who's lived through this experience, you got to take care of yourself, physically, mentally, and all that. Start today. Get that stuff off your plate. Start putting stuff off, and really look in life and smell the roses. Right. Another thing I would suggest is having kids early. I would suggest having kids early. I had mine at 23 and 25 respectively, and by the time they were grown adults, by the time I was 45, my kids, are adults. Now I wanted to stay a few years on the PD to help my kids go through college. But when I had that triple bypass, I was like, no more stress for me. I'm done. So, make sure that I would suggest having kids early, not just with some baby mama or whatever, or baby daddy, whatever, but get them out the way. That way you can be younger and enjoy your days So, have kids young. Um, I would suggest you hire a financial planner, and really look into how you want to live, where you want to live, the lifestyle you want to live. If you're used to jet skiing all every summer, or whatever you're used to, every other weekend, whatever you're used to, you want to keep that in your retirement. You got to plan for that today. You got to put the money aside for that today. So hire or talk to a financial guru, a financial planner, and make sure that you are setting yourself up. Um, do what you got to do. Do that today, immediately. There's a lot of articles you can read about 50 moves you can start making for retirement as a 50-year-old. 50. There was an article I read one time. 50 moves, and I read this when I was in my 30s. I remember reading this article. It was something like 50. I'm sure it has been updated and all that. But there was, some moves to make when you're 50, something like that, right? And I read stories about women, or in particular women who had not saved anything, and or women and men really hadn't saved anything, and now they're in the 50s, and they were like, man, I got to get going. So they maxed out their 401ks and this, that, and the other, and by the time they hit 65 or so, 65, 70 or so, they had a good little nest egg. So it's never too late. None of the stuff I'm going to tell you is ever too late. But talk to someone and make sure that you are doing everything you can be doing. And again, let me stress the health and wellness. Ain't no sense in saving all this money and you pass after your retirement. Ain't no sense in doing all that, right? So take care of yourself, right? So plan for that. As for the money aspect, someone wanted me to talk about bitcoins, uh, um, all this other, I don't even know. I can't. The terms are escaping me. I'm not into any of that. I'm going to tell you right now. All I did. We had our own pension. In my police department, we had a pension, and then also we had a what we call a PEPSCO, deferred compensation. And I didn't max that out, um, but I put a substantial amount of money every paycheck in there, and it paid off. Right. So I dipped into it to pay off, when I went to school, because the police department only paid off so much of me when I returned to school. So I dipped into to it to pay off that, and then when I went for my doctorate, I chose the cheapest school I could find. That was cheapest accredited school that I could do 100% online. That was my criteria. I want to go online, right? Because I went through the pandemic, so I want to go online. I want it to be as cheap as possible, and of course, it's got to be regionally accredited, which is the gold standard. So I put all that together and found the school that I did, and then I dipped into that dipped into my deferred compensation. In order to now, I am not currently withdrawing from my deferred compensation. It's sitting there, and every quarter they give me an update, and it's still making money, right? So the money is it's still kind of compounding. So I'm just gonna let it sit there probably till I'm set. I don't know. When I find a place that I really want to settle down in, that I might use that to buy wherever I'm gonna buy, or at least use it as a down payment to make sure I got really low payments. So I'm gonna do something like that. My home in the States, I was kind of up in the air about whether I'm going to sell it or not, giving everything that's going on with the government, and everything that's going on with finances, giving everything that's going on with giving everything that's going on with they don't want you to buy anything, and all these different LLCs and fake corporations are buying up all the homes, and people don't have homes. I don't think I'm ever going to sell it. I want something to be able to give to my kids, and if I sell it, my kids won't have anything. So that'll be a little nest egg for them. So if something happens to me, they can sell it, and they'll have a little something to go to live on, start their lives up, and whatever. So, but I think that's probably going to be my plan. So but we'll figure that out as we go. You want to pay off your debts, pay off your mortgage, and you should be maximizing that now, right? This is still about the financial aspect of it. What you got to do, what I would suggest that you do, is get rid of all debts, credit cards, mortgage, car payments, all that kind of stuff. You got to get rid of that, and you got to learn to live today on less than what you're bringing in, right? So if you live, let's just throw out some round numbers, right? Let's just say you're making $5,000 a month, right? And I would try to live. I would try to live on 2,000. I would try to live on 2,000 and just bank the other 3,000. I mean, that's what I would do, and that's what I do now. I mean, I'm living on like when I'm not dating in particular. I'm living on less than half of what my pension is. Yeah, I'm living on less than, so, and I just try to bank the rest. I just bank it. I just bank it. I just bank it. So yeah, so you got to do all that. But in the meantime, pay off credit card debt, right? And you got to pay off all your credit card debt. Before you start investing in 401ks and trying to up your compensation plans and all that kind of stuff, you should eliminate all debt, get rid of your car payment, get rid of your house payment, get rid of any and all debit cards. Credit cards. Get rid of all that stuff, right? And you shouldn't be. Those things should only be for emergencies. But again, talk to some financial people who are vastly more knowledgeable than I, and you got to get rid of all that because it's no good. It's no good. It's no good, right? So you got to talk to people about that. That's going to include student loans. So pay off student loans, pay off everything. That's what I did. When I got retired, again, I had a little bit of extra that I had to pay. Instead of paying them, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month, I just took it out and just paid it all off. So that's what I did. Yeah. So and then once you get that paid off, give extra money to your 401k or what's the other one? Roth IRAs, whatever you got, and you should look into all that, and you should be doing all that. I talked my brother into that, doing a Roth IRA and all this kind of stuff, right? And whatever they have at your job, to get these matching plans, you got to max all that out. You should really max that out. You should really talk about planning for retirement. You should really max that out. Obviously, you got to live within your means. I'm not telling you to max anything out, and you can't pay your light bill, or you're walking to work, or you don't have the typical $500 for an emergency, right? You got to build up, and you should build up a nest egg, right? You should be building up a nest egg as much as possible, right? 6 months of worth of expenses in the bank and all this kind of stuff. Provided the banks don't go down and electronics and stuff, you'll be able to do whatever. So all that kind of stuff, you got to talk to people about that. Having 6 months of pay, or 6 months of bills in the bank, and all this stuff, everything else is paid off. That's really what you got to do. You got to plan for another career. I when I was in the police department. I was about halfway through. I was probably at year 14 or so, 13, 14 or so, and I was a lieutenant. And I've told a story about how I was looking around the room and I was sitting in a meeting, looking around the room at everyone else in the meeting, saying this guy went to this school, this guy went to private school, this, that, and the other, kind of doing an evaluation of myself and seeing to myself, okay, here's where I am, where do I need to improve. So that's when I decided to go back to school and all that. So but because, and this is no shade to anyone out there, but I didn't want to just become a security guard or open up a security company. I didn't want to do that. I had enough of law enforcement. I had enough of it, and I didn't want to do that anymore. Although I do wish I would have set up a security company. People still ask me about that today. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. But yeah. So plan for a second career. So I went back to school because I wanted to have some type of something else to offer the world. So that's when I went back to school, got my master's degree, and then I went back for my doctorate once I was in retirement because of COVID, because we're all locked in because of COVID. And I was like, why not? um, so plan for a second career, even if it's a YouTube video, right? Turn your hobby into careers. There's a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds who have lived life, who are starting YouTube channels about traveling, about their careers, about just whatever, about relationships. I started mine talking about a bunch of different stuff, and I'm willing to go wherever it takes me. So make sure that you are doing something to plan for a second career, even if it's some police officers would leave one job after 20 years or 25 years. If you started young at 21, you leave at 45, you could start another career and do another 10, 15 years, get a second pension. That's a consideration. So whatever your line of work is, do that. Consulting or whatever. They say if you do anything for 20 years, you're an expert at it. But also you have to have the education and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I was thinking I got to get the education. I knew I wanted to do some type of consulting work and all this, and so that's what I wanted to go. But that's why I went back to school and got the credentials. Um, Again, I talked about turning your hobby to some type of work. Do what your second career really ought to be something that you really love and enjoy. It really ought to be something that you love and enjoy and that you're good at. So whatever you enjoy, if it's painting pictures, putting puzzles together, figure out a way to monetize that. Video games, I tell my son all the time, you're playing all the time, hook it up to Twitch and start streaming this stuff, man. I mean, if you're into working out, if you got a pretty, and if you're a young, well, yeah, if you're into working out and you got a pretty decent physique as you're into retirement or closer to retirement, start a YouTube channel about that, about staying in shape, eating right, making recipes and all this kind of stuff. The world is so much bigger than now that we have the internet and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's a second career. Um, I would also say start downsizing. I gave a lot of stuff away. I threw a lot of stuff in the trash. Living in a house for so many years and with my kids and stuff, we accumulated a ton of stuff. And I'm like, some stuff I haven't seen before. My philosophy was, and still is today, right? If I run into something I haven't touched in 6 months, I don't need it, right? There was a ton. I gave away a ton of clothes because I'm like, I haven't worn this in a year, right? I haven't worn it in a year. Even last summer I didn't wear it, so the summer's coming up. I'm not gonna wear it again. I typically wear I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, t-shirt and sweats type of guy. I have a bunch of polos and all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff I had for work. I gave a lot of that away. I gave a lot of that away. So, and again, my plan is to move overseas. So I don't need all that, right? And a lot of times, this impressing that we have to do, this peacocking that we have to do in order to press ladies in the States, that's not always necessary in another place. And it's hot wherever I plan to go. So, nah, I don't need all that. So start downsizing, get rid of a lot of stuff, right? That way, it'll make it easier for when you actually are retiring what you want to do. I would say when you're in retirement, live every day. That's what I'm trying to do, making YouTube videos. I talked about second career. Let me go back to that for a second here. I also teach online. That was a result of me going back to school. So I teach online, which I'm enjoying. I actually cut down on the class. because I want to give more time to to other stuff. Right here, I am on vacation. Right, I got to wake up early in the morning. Blah 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 blah. Make sure I correct the papers and stuff. I'm like, what am I doing? Particularly when I go to another country and find a place to live, my pension will go so much farther. I got my deferred compensation. All this, that, and the other. So I'm good. Also, again, when I signed up for the schools that I teach at, I again maxed out whatever the maximum was that they're going to take out for my retirement is taken out. So they send me statements. I'm already, I've been teaching 2 3 years, so I'm already making some good coin or got some good savings saved up. And at minimum, right? So let's just say I'm not teaching anymore. You get a good 10 15 $20,000 in the bank. That's a home right there, right? So in retirement, make sure that you're living the best that you can. Whatever you want to do, travel. If you want to travel, you want to stay in the states. You want to, you got to consider inflation. You got to consider the economy. You got to consider, the housing market. If you want to sell your house, downsize. I can't see doing that now. But I'm no financial expert. Don't take financial advice from me. But I can't see selling my house and then trying to buy something else, some other condo and something. Because the rents right now, the rents right now, my mortgage is way cheaper than that. So I'm like, oh, there's no way I would do that. I would just live in my house forever. So listen, you got to take think about all these types of things. So think about how you want to live, where you want to go, whether you leave the states, you stay in the states. You want to go from one state to another state. What's that cost of living like? What's the healthcare like? That's another thing too. When I moved to another place, particularly because of the problems I told you about I had before, I got to consider healthcare. Make sure that wherever I move, healthcare is going to be on par and on point. So yeah, so that's going to be important to me, and that's another reason why I wanted to move and leave the states is because I want fresh fruits and vegetables. I want fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. Nothing better than me when I'm walking down the street, or whatever, driving down the street in a little buggy or whatever, and there's people selling fresh fruit on the side of the road. Nothing better than that to me. That's what I want. That's where I want to live. Right now where I am, there's mangoes in a tree. Nah, that's what I want. That's what I want. Right, this chemical process stuff that we get in the states, I don't want that. I don't want that. So yeah, um, I would say if you want to travel, you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself, and I'm by myself right now. Contrary to popular belief, I didn't come down here to to really enjoy the company of a woman. I really just came to kind of scope out the place and make sure to see what kind of environment it is. That's my purpose for coming down here, and I plan to go other places. I plan to go to Peru. Where else am I going? To Belize, Peru, Panama, St. Lucia again, St. Vincent, Costa Rica, a couple of different places, right? Some place where I'm pretty much familiar with the culture. Dominican Republic. That's another place on my spot. Although, so some place where it's good. I got to, and then you got to consider. Um, I got to consider the tax base, visas, how often you got to leave the country, and all that. I don't know. I don't plan on giving up my U.S. citizenship, but I don't really know if I want to go through all the hassle of taking up another citizenship. So I might just have to keep traveling every 6 months. I don't know. I got to work all that out. I got to look at those are things I have to really kind of look into, figure out, make sure that see where I'm going with all that. So that's my presentation for today. Somebody asked me to talk about retirement and all that, and early retirement. Early retirement. I mean, I don't really know. I'm not very familiar with the term early retirement as far as what that means from a legal or financial perspective. Are you taking an earlier than planned retirement, as in less pay, as in what does that mean? Do you plan on just going somewhere else, or were you bought out from someplace? You had to do 30 years, but they said, okay, we'll give you 20 years, and now you can take an early retirement. But obviously, that's going to affect your pay, and how does that affect, the domino effect about how you want to live, where you're going to live, inflation, and all that kind of stuff, right? So you got to consider all that. So those are just some things you got to consider. Some guy walking around here. Who is that? Who the heck is this? Um, So they wanted me to talk about it. So you just got to plan. Whatever it is, you got to make a plan, have a plan, and create a backup plan and make sure that you are doing whatever you're going to do. You got to plan for that today. And again, the finances are going to be big. Healthcare is going to be big. Your health is going to be big. And you got to just make sure that you're doing everything you can do. Watch the markets. I'm not one for watching the markets. This high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. I always did the low risk type of stuff. I want guaranteed money at the end. So I'm not. I didn't. I never did the whole. I never did the whole really really bad or aggressive stuff. And the stock market tanks, right? People often talk about the stock market tanking in 2008 with the housing market and all that, but it tanked again. It tanked in 2000 too. It tanked in 2000, right? So I took a hit. I took a hit in both of those. So that's why I always said, "Listen, I'm just doing just low risk stuff." But again, you talk to somebody someone who's far more knowledgeable than I, and just be consistent with that. Learn to live on lesser income. Learn to live on lesser income, and yeah, today I'm saying today, learn to live on lesser income today, and you'll be good. All right, you'll be good. You save the money, watch what you're doing, cut back on a lot of stuff today. The drinking. If you drink a lot, the partying, always buying a new car every 2 years, always buying a new cell phone. I know you ladies with your wigs and weaves and stuff. That stuff costs money. Your nails cost money. That's all retirement stuff, right? That's all stuff you should be doing, right? Makeup, but and guys too with your hobbies. Going golfing is. If you golf now, you want to golf later on. You got to plan for that. If you're a big golfer and that's all you want to do, I would start a golfing fund. If I like to play golf, you like to play golf 2, 3 times a week, and you know what the price is. I would start a golfing fund. This is what it's going to cost because my retirement's going to be less. Here's my golfing fund, right? So that's what I would do. Yeah. So, and again, planning for my retirement. Again, I teach at a couple different universities. Each and every one of them, they take money out. They take money out, and two of them are really consistent. One I only teach I teach in the spring and summer, but the other ones I teach all year round, and they're really, that's really helping out for my future retirement. So I hope I said something. Let me know what your thoughts, your opinions. What did I miss in here? Oh, dating. I know y'all like to talk about dating here. So I don't know. I've had a few ladies who have who have reached out, and I appreciate that. But I'm just not in the place where I'm looking to date like that because I'm looking to leave the country, and I don't want to start anything that I can't finish. So yeah, I don't want to start anything I can't finish. So I'm fairly good in Spanish, although down here their accents I can't pick up what they're saying. Down here in Colombia, I can't pick up what they're saying, so I don't know what these chicks are saying. I'm like, I got to pull out my app. And I didn't have that problem when I was in Costa Rica or in Dominican Republic. So I don't know what you guys are saying. So that's pretty fun. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so I want to move to someplace like that. I was thinking about going to Southeast Asia, Thailand, or the Philippines, or I still plan to visit, but I don't think I'm going to move there because the flights are just too long. If something ever happened, I'm 18, 20, I'm a day away, 18, 24 hours 18 to 20 hours away by flight and all this kind of stuff. So I don't think that's and the culture is so much different. I'm used to the Dominican and Caribbean and other places would have more of a African diaspora. There's some similarities there, and I'm pretty good in Spanish, and I know if I really gave it some effort, I could be fluent in 6 months. So um, yeah, so that's just where my head is at. But the dating scene, listen, I don't know what I'm going to do as far as dating. Um, there's a video about this chick in Panama. Video about this chick in Panama, about this American woman who went to Panama was complaining about the American guys who were down there are not checking for American women. Now I get that black men and black women are at each other's throats and all this, but she was a beautiful woman. I definitely probably would have shot my shot. But I think that you can't bring American attitudes down to these places. You can't bring American attitudes down to these places. So if I here and I can't remember the full extent of the video, so I may be overstepping, but here's what I think she was saying. She was looking for somebody who's going to be a good time, pay your bills, this, that, and the other. And I'm hearing that in Panama, in particular, a lot of these women are sharing men because they're viable and whatever. They got money and all this stuff. That's why I never gave any credence to the passport bros, um, people dumping on the passport bros. These dudes have money. You listen. I'm gonna be an educated dude. Down here, I don't have a lot, but I got a paycheck for the rest of my life. So why am I gonna go down here and then pick you? Why should I pick you versus someone else? Now, I personally, you know, I might think that meeting a woman down there who's from America, if she's got a good personality, I probably would talk. I probably would. I probably would because we have the same cultural outlook and understanding and all that. But what I wouldn't appreciate is the American attitude. I got to pay all your bills. I got to do. Wait a minute, because if I'm going to pay if I'm going to pay all the bills in the house, and you got a pension, or you're retired, or you're working online, or whatever you're doing all this kind of stuff. You're doing all that, and you're just saving money, and I'm spending my money. I don't have a problem with that here in the well, not in the U.S. right now. I don't have a problem with that in the U.S. and I would have a problem with that down there. So we either gonna make this. I'm not just gonna be paying all your bills, and because if I'm gonna pay everybody's bills, and which I don't have a problem with, I'm gonna pay somebody else's bills, right? Who's younger, more compliant, and this, that, and the other. So if we want to get together and have a good time, we can get together and have a good time. And I don't mind paying for. If I want your nails to look cute, I'll give you the money for your man. I can't believe I turned this into this video again. But if I want you to look cute, this, that, and the other, that's good. Um, and I think that you got to knock off this. One thing I would appreciate is knocking off this idea of competition amongst yourselves and this beauty standard. That's another reason why too I want to leave the U.S. and go to a place that's mostly African people, or a larger portion are African people. Panama, Belize, Saint Lucia. Um, I haven't seen a lot of black folks down here in Colombia. So that's just what I want. Maybe I'll consider Africa too. I have to visit. I've never been to Africa, so I have to visit all these different places. But this is my exploring time and check all this out. But and what I want to get away from is this idea we have to look like these other people. And there was a woman. I told a story. She's a white woman, and she was English, and she moved to Belize, and she was like, these people don't care what they look like. The stuff doesn't match. This time she couldn't understand it. And so she was used to wearing red bottom shoes. She was a high powered woman in England. And when she moved to Belize, she said her blood pressure went down. Everything's, she started living a much more calm life. And next thing you know, she stopped caring about all this name brand stuff. So I'm saying that to say, you can't bring this American attitude down there. You want to be in competition wearing wigs and weaves and this, that, and the other. Listen, to me, there's nothing sexier than a black woman. To me, there's nothing sexier than a black woman. Your hair, your lips, everything about you is just sexy. I personally love a fro. I don't mind putting my hand through it. I'll I'll grease your scalp. Man, just to touch the fro. So listen, but that's me. That's me. So you can't come down here. I set out to say, don't go down to these places looking for these men with the same American attitude that they're trying to get away from. That's the whole point of what I wanted to say. Whatever they're trying to get away from, whether it's the inflation, whether it's the weather, don't bring that energy down there. Is my point. Don't bring that energy down there. So. Um, yeah, and so that's why I think that this woman couldn't understand that, And then again, you're she's in. I can't find the video. I watched it on somebody else's channel, and they were interrupting it so much it wouldn't be worth me playing it. That's why I usually like to play the videos. I would play the video, but I can't find it. And she was so used to. Excuse me, I can't find it, so therefore I'm not going to play it. But this woman was she went down to this place thinking that she would be a home run to these men. She's like, and they're like, you're not. There's black women all over the place. There's black women all over the place. So why should I choose you over them? And if you come down here with the same type of attitude, we all know what we're talking about, same type of entitlement. If you come down here thinking I'm gonna just pay your bills, this, that, and the other, and put you up in a lap of luxury, particularly if you're down there as an American woman, you got means. So this, I gotta pay all your bills. I want to pay somebody else's bills. So I don't know. That's my thoughts and that's my opinion. Let me know if there's anything that I missed on here that you think I should have talked about as far as retirement. Let me just give a recap here if I didn't do that. Can't remember if I did. Protect today. Start today. Protect your peace at all costs. Handle any drama in your life. Baby mama drama, whatever. Get rid of all that stuff. I'm not telling you to get rid of your kids, but figure all that stuff out and then reduce your stress today. Eat right today. Start working out today. Start saving money. Put that stuff in a 401k, a deferred compensation. Have a couple of different accounts. Diversify your portfolio. Talk to someone. Figure all that kind of stuff out. I didn't talk about stocks and bonds, but I'm not really into stocks. I do have an app. My son tells me, hey, here's a hot stock. I don't even check it. I just put some money into it. I just check it, and then in a couple years, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I look back and there's a few dollars in there. I'll take it out and do whatever with it. But I don't really follow stocks like that. So pay off all your debts today. Get rid of credit card debt, mortgage payments as much as possible, and student loans. Get rid of all that. The Trump administration is now going to, what's he going to do? They're going to go after people with student loan debts. So you got to get rid of all that, right? Y'all stop playing around here. Partner up with somebody. Knock this foolishness off. Partner up with somebody. Knock these bills out. Buy a house if you can, and knock these bills out. Knock your credit cards out for each other. Knock it off, man. Knock it off with this nonsense. Give extra money and you got to give extra money to the credit cards. Before, when I got this job, I took a job after I got my degree. Literally 2 days later, they're offering me this job at this university. So I took the job, and so my car was kind of on the fritz. I wasn't going to get a new car because I had planned to. I graduated in October. By January, I wanted to be out the country, right? Or at least looking around. But I took the job in November, and I took the job in November, and I started in December. So I put off my plans. Started in December. This is a long video. I started in December, and so I had to get a new car to make it back and forth to work. So what the payment is, I give extra. I'm not gonna tell you how much I gave, but I give extra, right? So your credit card payment, if your payment is $35, you ought to be doubling that. $70, $100, $200, whatever you can afford to get rid of that thing. And then your student loan debt, get rid of that. Credit card's probably the easiest to pay off, I would assume, if you don't got crazy stuff. Car payment, and then last tackle your mortgage. But even my mortgage right now, I give extra to that. And they always send me a check, right? They always trying to be slick. I send it right back to them. But apply this right to the principal. Apply it to the principal. If you give extra, make sure you write in the notes, whatever. Apply it to the principal. So all that kind of stuff, right? So give extra money. Make sure you plan that stuff off. If you want to do a second career, make sure you're planning for that today, whether it's a hobby or whether it's something else you want to do. You did 20 years in one job. They're going to give you a little bit of money. You got a second job lined up. That's fine. Whatever you want to do, particularly if you're going to do that early retirement type of thing, right? Because one of the reasons I knew I was going to retire in my 40s, maybe early 50s, because right now I would hit 30 years if I would still be at the police department. I would hit 30 years right now. Next month, because I started in '95. I started June of '95. Next month, I could actually walk. If I was still there, I could walk out this month with 30 years. Retirement. So and I would be 52. So what would I do after that? What would I do? So that's why you got to plan for this. You got to plan for it. You got to plan for it. So yeah. Turn a hobby into a career. Eat right. Exercise. Can't say that enough. Downsize. Whatever you can get rid of. I would suggest, this is my thought, getting rid of it. Whether you give it away, have a tag sale, you get rid of all stuff you don't need. That way you can start lessening the stress in your life. Live every day. If you're in retirement, live every day, make every day count. Have a routine. That's another thing too. You got to have a routine. You got to have a routine. I wake up, get your little exercise in, get your little walk in. You can't just sit there and be in a slug all day. You got to develop a routine. So make sure you develop a routine. Whatever you're gonna do, wake up. I correct papers. I wake up, try to exercise, correct some papers, and now I'm gonna start these things. But I'm not. I actually have been doing it for a little while now. Stop eating before. I'm not gonna eat until after noon. No more breakfast. Try to take this belly down a little bit. So, yeah, workout, all that kind of stuff. Whatever you want to stay in the States, whatever you're going to do, plan, understand the markets, understand cost of living, inflation, uh, all that kind of stuff. You want to leave the country, consider the food, consider the location, consider health care, consider the environment. You know, and move someplace where it's, something crazy could happen to you. So think about all that. And know yourself too. I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember if I covered that, but know yourself. If I'm here by myself traveling, so you got to know wherever you want to go. How do you want to live? Where you want to live? You want to live around a lot of people. You want to be sociable, all this kind of stuff. There was a couple. I haven't followed them in a while, but they were a black couple, and I got a lot of my ideas from them because I believe that they worked for the school city, the school for the city in Oakland. I think it was a school system, but I could be mistaken. So let's just say the city in Oakland, and they were a couple, and they were looking for a place to live, and I think they settled in Portugal, but they had gone to some place in Costa Rica, and wherever they found in Costa Rica that they were there temporarily, it was close enough to the grocery store, close enough to their favorite watering hole, close enough to their favorite couple of different places to eat from. It was real simple, and they also said they didn't want no car. They don't want no car. They didn't want a car. And I said to myself, that's exactly where I want to live. I want to find a place that is close to. I don't drink, but maybe just a place to go watch a game. A nice sports bar, so I can go a couple of different restaurants to choose from. Um, and I don't want a car. I don't want a car. I didn't want a car when I was back in the U.S. I don't want a car. Between gas, insurance, car payments, $1,000 a month. You don't need that. I just Uber everywhere. Right? And if you live close enough, you just walk. You get your exercise in and walk and pick up your groceries. I see people walking these different places. I saw this big muscle dude. He was walking two big bags in his hand. He's doing his curls while he's walking with his groceries. You got to figure this thing out. You don't need to get rid of your car. Get rid of your car. It's nothing but a headache, and it drains you financially. So, all right. So that's my presentation. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Anything I didn't make. If there's something else you want me to talk about, let me know. Hit me in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going. I do have a members only channel, a members only portion, 2 different tiers. Make sure you guys check that out. There's videos dropping straight for the members. So much love and peace, everyone.